Hey everyone, and welcome back to another unit builder video. The newest spring banner just dropped earlier this week, and that means we've got a new Tempest Trial event that's about to start. For this month, oh my god, I cannot believe this man got an alt, we've got Papa Bartre. Yes, the president of the community of hatchet operating persons just got his very first alternate. This is honestly so incredibly refreshing. Bartre is one of those units that's likable, but you'd never expect to actually get any attention, let alone a seasonal alternate. And oof, that artwork. He is incredibly jacked, oh my god. I know that some people have commented on his eyes, and I have to admit, the right eye in particular does look a little wonky. It kind of looks like it's twitching a little bit, which is a shame because it's just enough to instill some fear into the hearts of some players, but I am quite honestly able to look past it. The man's got plenty of assets all around, and it is so rare for us to get a hunky male character. So, I'm pretty excited. Anyway, you all know the drill. Since Bartre's our free Tempest Trial unit, we're gonna take a look at his base stats and see what he's packing. At 5 stars, level 40, Bartre's base stats read as HP 46, Attack 40, Speed 26, Defense 35, and Resistance 25. And friendly disclaimer, because he is a free unit, he will be locked to neutral stats. Now, typically with Bartre, we can expect high attack, solid defense, average speed, and incredibly low resistance. And as a point of reference, I'm gonna bring up the stats of his base self, just for some comparison. You'll notice that Bartre lost 3 points in HP, which is unfortunate, but it is still fairly high. And then he gained 4 points in attack, bringing that up to 40. Which is very, very nice. The man is going to be hitting like a brick wall. His speed is largely unfazed, going up by just 1 point, and his defense comes up by a tiny bit, by 2 points to be exact. What's also nice is that now he has twice as much resistance as he had previously, which isn't really saying a lot considering that it's still considerably low, but hey, the man is certainly getting the Gen 4 BST treatment, and I'm here for it. Now, as for his base kit, Bartre comes with the Carrot Cudgel as his weapon. It's got 14 might and grants attack and defense plus 5 to the unit and neutralizes any penalties to these two stats so long as there is an ally within 2 spaces of the unit. This is actually a really great weapon. Its effect is sort of like attack defense bond 3.5? That and a half part is because of its ability to neutralize penalties, which is really nice, and considering how easy it is to activate, Bartre is constantly going to have this weapon effect on. Again, this is a very nice, very solid weapon to inherit. Now, in his assist slot, Bartre comes with Smite, which is no coincidence, I'm sure, as it's the same skill his base version comes with. It's a decent assist skill that certainly has its uses. It's really just a matter of preference, so not much to say about this one. Now, jumping over to his B slot, Bartre comes with Obstruct 3. Wow. Imagine coming with Obstruct 3 in 2020. As its weapon description says, if the unit's HP is greater than or equal to 50%, foes cannot move through spaces adjacent to this unit. It's such a situational skill, and you'll probably never see it on an actual unit unless it's an AI during some random legendary hero map. We're definitely gonna get rid of this one. And lastly, in his C slot, Bartre comes with Odd Attack Wave 3, which is a very nice budget-friendly skill to have. As you may already know, this skill grants plus 6 attack to both this unit and any adjacent units on odd number turns. What's great about wave skills is that even if you don't have any adjacent allies, the skill will still activate on its respective turn. In my opinion, wave skills are some of the best budget-friendly skills available, coming only second to smoke skills. And though we already have access to even attack wave in the Grail shop, thanks to Fallen Delthea, it's nice to finally have the odd turn variant available now too. This is going to be especially nice for any Gale Force or Tome users in Aether raids. Okay, and that completes our base kit review. Overall, I'm actually pretty pleased with Bartre's kit. Though his stat spread was rather predictable, the Gen 4 BST is very nice. Obstruct is certainly underwhelming, but his weapon, his C slot, and his artwork all make up for it. A pretty nice package all around. With that being said, let's take a look at some builds now. Alright, build number 1 is going to be very standard, very free-to-play friendly budget build that should be fairly easy to craft together for new players and suitable for general use. Experienced players should be very familiar with this build, especially any longtime fans of Bartre. However, it only just recently dawned on me that I've yet to include this kind of build anywhere on my channel so far, so here we are. For this build, we're going to keep Bartre's base weapon and tack on a weapon refined in defense. Bartre already lives up to the hard-hitting warrior archetype found in most Fire Emblem games, and so it's only fitting that we lean into his strengths and make a bulldozer out of him. For his assist, you can keep Smite, or you can opt for Reposition. As I had mentioned previously in my video for Ferdinand, Reposition is especially viable on tanky units, as it allows the glass cannon characters to shoot their shot and then repositions them out of harm's way, allowing the tanks to do what they do best, soaking up that damage. Now, Bartre's got some really solid attack, and so for his special, Draconic Aura might be a really solid budget-friendly option that's still incredibly accessible to new players. As the description says, it scales its damage boost off of his attack in combat, and because it's got a modest cooldown cost of 3, it shouldn't take very long for him to build this one up. In his A slot, I'm going to recommend good old Fury 3. Coincidentally, it can be found on base Bartre, although I personally recommend inheriting it from Hinata, as it'll save you the hassle of having to promote a regular Bartre to 5 stars in order to grab Fury. Plus, feeding Bartre to a Bartre for the sake of Fury fodder feels like Bartricide, so we're not gonna do that. Nevertheless, Fury 3 is a very good, safe skill that grants +3 to all stats while inflicting 6 damage to Bartre after each round of combat. This is especially important because it synergizes nicely with his beast skill, Wrath. Wrath 3 is a skill that grants our unit an additional +10 damage when his special activates in combat. After combat, it also has the added effect of lowering his special cooldown cost by 1 point, making it a little easier for him to build it back up. For a while, Wrath was pretty exclusive as a skill, but nowadays it's much more accessible thanks to Astrum, who can be found in the Grail Shop. At the time of this video recording, Astrum hasn't had a Grand Hero Battle rerun just yet, so if you're looking to nab some free Wrath fodder, I would give it just a few more weeks. Alright, as for Bartre's C slot, you'll notice that I've decided to keep Odd Attack Wave. As I already mentioned, it's a solid budget skill that gives him and adjacent allies a very nice boost to their attack. No need to switch it out when in a pinch. And lastly, for his Sacred Seal slot, I thought it might be fun to throw in Death Blow 3. For those of you who haven't already heard, Death Blow 3 is one of the new seals that's going to be made available during this upcoming Tempest Trials event, and while this slot is fairly flexible, there's no reason not to make use of this cool new seal and slap it on here. As an alternative, feel free to bump up his defense by employing seals like Steady Stance 3 or even Close Defense 3. Alright, and that is it for build number 1. Like I said, veteran players should be fairly familiar with the standard Fury Wrath build. It's not a new concept by any means, in fact, it's very likely what many players who've used Bartre in the past probably had at one point. As for build number 2, however, we're going to pull in some premium skills to whip up a build that's much more oriented for defensive support. Like previously, we're going to keep his base weapon and assist as before. As for his special, you can keep Draconic Aura in place, however, because this build is slightly more support oriented, I'm opting for Glimmer this time around due to the shorter cooldown cost. Again, this slot is fairly flexible though. For his A slot, we've got 2 options, both of which depend on which phase you prefer to be most active on. Sturdy Impact is option number 1, obviously leaning into the player phase and being slightly more accessible considering it's been around for a good year now. Some of you might have also gotten lucky with the recent double seasonal banner, and so if you manage to snag a spare Summer Lin, Bartre's a great unit to slap Sturdy Impact on. On the other hand, if somehow, by some grand miracle, you're able to get a hold of Sturdy Stance 3, then that would be a fantastic enemy phase choice for Bartre as well. What's especially nice about both of these skills is that they have a built-in guard effect, inflicting -1 special cooldown charge on the enemy per hit. Definitely as premium as some of these skills get. For his B skill, I thought it might be extra spicy to go for Sudden Panic 3. Though his HP isn't quite as high as his base version, Spring Bartre should still have enough HP to be able to make good use of this. Sudden Panic is a very annoying skill that automatically inflicts panic on foes across the map if they've got less HP than Bartre and if they are standing adjacent to an ally. For any new players out there, Panic automatically neutralizes any bonuses on the enemy, which can be incredibly handy when up against units that love to stack visible buffs. This is a great utility skill that the entire team can benefit from. In his C skill, I decided to double in on the HP based skills and give Bartre Infantry Pulse 3. Infantry Pulse is another fantastic support-based skill that grants 1 special charge to any infantry unit on your team at the start of a match, so long as they have less HP than Bartre. It's a very easy condition to meet, so long as Bartre's got the highest HP on your team. Alright, and lastly for our Sacred Seal, this slot is entirely flexible. If Bartre's HP isn't high enough to make use of both Sudden Panic and Infantry Pulse, you're more than welcome to throw in an HP skill to help him meet the requirement. On the other hand, if he's got enough HP, he could definitely make use of skills like Quick Riposte, Heavy Blade, or just about any attack or defense-oriented seal. Alright, and that wraps up things for our second build. I really like this build as I've always been a big fan of Infantry Pulse shenanigans, and tacking Sudden Panic on top of that just makes for some really fun utility that the entire team could benefit from. Now, ordinarily I only do 2 builds per unit. However, a friend of mine is a huge Bartre fan and was looking to really maximize Bartre's offensive potential. And so, if you'll indulge me for just a little bit longer, I've got a third build here that I'm going to quickly gloss over. This last build is a basic distant counter build. In fact, it's almost identical to the one I featured in my last video for the Flame Emperor. However, it can certainly translate over to Bartre because he's got more resistance now. For his weapon, I'm pulling out the Barrier Blade, which grants +7 resistance on the enemy phase. With the weapon refined in resistance, that brings his base res up to 29. In his A slot, we've obviously got to tack on Distant Counter. And for his B slot, we've got quite a few options. I chose Quick Riposte this time around because Bartre's speed is unfortunately really low, and without access to any speed boons, there's little means of bringing that speed up higher. As an alternative though, Special Spiral could be considered if you'd rather bank on his one-hit KO potential. In his C slot, I am shooting for the stars and opting for Rouse, Defense, and Resistance 3. I'm essentially just trying to patch up his resistance as high as possible, and so if he's able to get this support from his allies instead, then that leaves that slot much more flexible. Similarly, in his S slot, I opted for Distant Defense 3, which grants 6 defense and resistance on the enemy phase when up against any ranged threats. Between the Barrier Blade and Distant Defense 3, you're looking at 42 resistance on the enemy phase. 48 if you manage to get Rouse, Defense, and Resistance 3 to activate as well. It's pretty cut and dry, but I do think that Spring Bartre is better capable of running Distant Counter than his base version on account of the increased resistance, so I thought it might be fun to mention. Okay, and that wraps up all of our builds for Bartre. Here are what his stats look like when fully merged. As you can see, his attack and defense remain consistently high, which is very nice and will be very fun to play around with, especially in this upcoming Tempest trial. Even his resistance becomes much more manageable once fully merged up too. Believe it or not, I am like 90% sure that I'm gonna build up a Bartre just for myself. That art is literally all it takes for me. Okay, and that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I know the world is in a very crazy place right now on account of the virus, but I do hope that you're all safe and that your loved ones are okay. While I know self-isolation is going to be hard for a lot of us, at least we've got games like Fire Emblem to help distract us and keep us a little sane. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and if you haven't already, feel free to join our Discord server. We've got a great group of people in there now, and have a lot of fun talking about FEH, building units, sharing strategies, and keeping each other company. The link will be in the description below. Again, stay safe everybody, and happy saving, happy summoning, and take care.